Yeah, that's what I think of when I think about intuition in my mind.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me just shut that.
What did you say?
I was like, in my mind. And
Oh,
I was like,
it's your thing. So I can start singing.
I don't know why I started doing that. Just let it go.
Girl, don't be mute.
Encore, come
We
on,
want
come
to
on.
hear it.
You started it. You gotta keep it going now.
I know, right? Sing for us.
Welcome to the Goddess-ity podcast, where women come together and have the audacity to tell their truths. Are you choosing to live out loud while honoring the divine within? Well, ladies, this is your movement. Join Akili, April, Juanita, and Linda as they dive deep into topics like self-love, spirituality, and comedic wisdom. We call those the foundations of goddess life. Tap in with the goddesses every week to be inspired, uplifted, and empowered.
Welcome, my G to Gs. Welcome, my goddesses and my gods, to the Goddess-ity podcast. I'm here with my wonderful co-host, and today we are here to explore the power of aligning the wisdom of your own inner voice, as well as the wisdom of, our ancestors, but more so your own inner voice. So today we're diving into intuition as self-care. So trusting your inner voice for wellness. So as we navigate through today's topic, we'll also connect it with the comedic principles that guide us toward harmony and enlightenment. It's all about tuning into our inner ma'at, and that's the principle of truth, balance, and order. So let's get started with basically getting the understanding of what intuition is. And intuition is that inner knowing, that inner guidance. It's our beacon, our guidance center. And it guides us without logic or reason, So that is why it's very important to get to know and understand that you do have intuition, and it's about trusting your gut. So before I open up the floor to the goddesses to share what intuition is for them, I'm going to go ahead and just give them a little bit more of insight of how I see intuition. So the first thing that pops in my head is some people's like, oh yeah, trust my gut. My intuition told me not to go there. And so I think it can tend to be stronger for some people, or they're listening more so when it's in a situation of their safety and keeping them safe. It's like, oh no, don't go down that street, go this way. And for whatever reason, you're like, I just turned and went this way, and it diverted them from something harmful. But I'll also let you know that intuition is there also for good in helping you making the decisions, because you've asked the question. So what I see is where intuition is that we are already, everything that we need is within us. And if we take the moment and be still and listen, you will be guided. Meditation is a good way to get you there at times, to still yourself. And for me personally, in that moment, I may not receive any messages, from my spirit guides, and my intuition, but after I'll get those downloads. So there's a period of time where I could, let's see, where they would come to play when I'm washing dishes. And I guess I go in my little zone because I love a clean, quick kitchen, but I do not like to wash dishes. And that's when I was a little kid, I was a little girl. I should say, when I grow up, I get my house, I'm gonna have everything but a kitchen. I said, we're gonna eat outside and we're gonna use paper plates and we're gonna let the wind blow all that away. Cause I'm like, I did not like cleaning the kitchen. It was like, ah. And I think that stemmed from my sisters and I. We made the agreement that whoever cooks, the other person was responsible for cleaning. And then you have that one sister that wants to use every dish in the kitchen. And then like, oh, okay, well, you got to clean because I cook. I'm like, what? And then also that same sister would change the rules because then when I cook, she's like, oh, no, no, no. Remember we said you got to clean your own dish. I was like, you know what? So in that moment of washing dishes and not wanting to wash dishes, it's like I put myself in a meditative state of just, okay, let's wash these dishes. But being in that state, it's like, okay, I'm getting all of these, uploads, downloads, whatever, my intuition and answering, providing me answers to questions that I have asked. And it's just like, oh, just listening to myself in that moment. So it gave me that moment of being still because I had to stand there in front of the sink, just like, okay. I just like, don't think about washing the dishes. Just do it and go. Just do it, do it and go. So that's what was just an example of saying you don't have to actually sit down, and get in that position of meditation. It can come in different forms, walking meditation or yeah. But I've learned over the years the biggest thing was to trust my intuition. That's something that I had not been doing. And so it's there. I just want to say it's there to guide us and guiding us in this creating this world of these experiences that we were made for. Yeah. So I want to open the floor to our goddesses. Goddess Juanita, share with us what, your understanding of intuition.
Well, for me, I think if I talk a little bit about intuition, it's something that for me has been around a long time. And I think when I was younger, and I think people got to experience, intuition a lot when we didn't have all of these devices, TVs and phones and all of that, because a lot of times we just had alone time. If you grew up like me, I had two brothers, one a lot younger, one older. I was the only girl. So being the only girl, I spent a lot of time just, if I wasn't with friends at school, I was reading and then I was reflecting and I was doing things like visualization. I didn't know that's what it was called. I was dreaming about in my mind what I wanted my life to look like. I was planning, where I would live, all these things from reading the book, not even knowing that, right? So I was doing these things and I had probably when I was about 3, I got this stuffed animal, a Black Panther, probably about 2 or 3 feet tall, right? And I called her Sheba. And Sheba was like my best friend ever. And of course, I told Sheba all of my things, and Sheba talked back to me and all of these good things. And to this day, whenever I go into meditation, and I usually start off my meditation with breathing, I will always go through a field of flowers, or I'll go down a beach. I'll end up at water. Wherever I end up at the water, usually there's a big tree if I'm at a lake, and most of the time it's a lake or a river. Sheba is always there, a Black Panther waiting for me.
Wow.
And so Sheba is my intuition. It's my guide, always there. It's always been there for me. I didn't know what to call it until I started, doing all my research with metaphysics, that is my intuition. But that's what it is. Sheba is there to comfort me, guide me, whatever it is. And so for me, it's like that, intuition for me is like that sixth sense that we have. It's that thing that we have that lets us know that something's not right. And it's not until recently later I've learned how to use it more, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but it's just that inner guiding, and whatever you call it, you might call it your intuition, you might name it, whatever you want to do. That's that thing that we really need, because sometimes you have these things, experiences, you have things in your subconscious that hasn't been made conscious. So you and your five senses, which are physical, don't even understand when something, you might encounter somebody and something says to you, either you've met this person before or somehow it's something about this person and you just can't quite put you just can't quite put it there, but it's something telling you, yeah, you don't want to be around that person or whatever. And so you just say, you don't know what it is, but you just gonna follow it because you just feel it so, I don't know, it's hard to describe that feeling. It's like, it's just so heavy. Like, it's almost like you can't, no matter how much you want to avoid it, you cannot, it will not let you, you know what I mean? It's just that strong and that's powerful. So, I mean, to me, it's a very important thing. And really, I don't even know how I don't know. I don't even know where I'd be if I hadn't been able to use my intuition. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. April, Akili, y'all have anything you want to add or share?
Wishing, you know me, I have 76 questions, right? What comes to mind is like your internal GPS, right? It's like we want to be able to use it, but I think a lot of times it becomes somewhat challenging because we don't have a direction, right? So when I think about a GPS, it doesn't do anything for you if you haven't given it any information in terms of where you're actually trying to go.
Whoa.
And I feel like we're kind of in a space sometimes where we're floating around in the wind. And, while that's fine sometimes, I do feel like at other times, we need to be focused on things that we actually want to get to. And that's a great time to be able to tap into your intuition and hear, what your energy is sensing about that direction that you want to go into. I think it was hard for me initially to really understand what the difference was between intuition and my spirit guiding me, or spirit actually guiding me. And I think maybe, a few people might have, questions about that, but that's really what I think about intuition. It's like giving me that direction when I am on my way, like, and it'll let me know if I'm off the path, like, no, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. It'll lead me down, I think, a road that will let me know that I should have turned left a lot earlier. But yeah, that's what I think of when I think about intuition in my mind.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me just shut that.
What did you say?
I was like, in my mind. And I was like,
So I start singing.
I don't know why I started doing that. Just let it go.
Girl, don't be mute.
Come on,
We
come
wanna
on.
hear it.
You started it. You gotta keep it going now.
I know, right? Sing for us. I think for me, it's more about a feeling than it is me. I think when Achilles said that, the difference between like when I'm receiving something from source or, directly like receiving a message or a download versus my gut intuition. When I'm receiving something, it's more like just an understanding or an all of a sudden knowing. And then intuition feels more like a feeling, right? It feels good, it feels bad, right? And those usually for me, and not that you can't, I would say that it doesn't mean that there isn't a thought or there isn't information that follows it, but usually it begins with a feeling. For me anyway, when I think about my intuition, and because as soon as you feel something, you automatically start to kind of follow that. Like, what's that about? Like, oh,
Yeah.
You
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like your mind will then follow, or you're now seeking, you're now investigating it without even thinking about like, what is this? This is telling me something. Okay, yeah. And so your awareness starts to broaden, or you start to focus in on that thing. and start picking up whatever information you need to pick up on, which continues to guide you. As opposed to, like I said, a download or receiving information. I feel like the knowing comes and then the feeling then affirms it. It's kind of like the opposite for me. I don't know if that makes sense. If you guys
No, it makes perfect sense.
experience it in that way. Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Being in different meditative states, which again, there's no right way to meditate. Okay. I have gotten into my book a little bit more. There's no right way to meditate. It's talking about the different things that Linda mentioned about. It can be a walking meditation. It can be all of these things. It's really about spending time with yourself. Right. That's a huge thing, because that's how not only do you love and honor yourself by giving yourself time, energy, attention, but that is how you get to know yourself. And until you know yourself, it's very difficult to trust yourself. And intuition is a big part of that, right? Your body, things are always communicating with you. Everything is always communicating. Everything is always emitting something, right? Whether it is source, the environment, everything is source, by the way, but that's another. Everything is communicating, right? But that includes you. That includes you. You're always in communication with you. But like Linda said, are you listening? Can you hear it? Right? Yeah. So, yeah. So that's just my tidbit at the moment.
Awesome. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, we're going to just keep this train a moving and go into some ancient philosophies from Kemet and the East by our very own goddess, Akili.
Woo! All right, let's go. Let's go.
Go.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to just say this too. When April just said that last piece of the puzzle, it just made me think about a statistic that I had read the other day. Actually, I had read it and it said two different things. It said the brain is like processing 11 million pieces of information every minute.
Mm.
And then the other one I said every second. And I was like, now where is all this information coming from? But I guess when you think about all your senses taking in information, all of the involuntary things that your body is doing that you're not even aware of, like breathing and blinking and all of those, just you have no idea. Your brain is constantly like, I mean, it's amazing that we can hear anything at all.
Ain't that the truth?
Yes. So when we talk about the world of intuition and the philosophy, again, you guys know that, one of the things that we strive to do is make sure we always pay tribute to the origins of metaphysics and this spiritual thought, right? So I'm always going to talk about how we can connect things back to ancient Africa. The goddesses are always going to bring those things back in some shape, form, or fashion. But, it's not unlike us to pay homage to, the different branches that have grown off of that tree. So definitely for, my brothers and sisters from the East that come out of the Asian and Indian philosophies as well, feel free to chime in underneath the video if there's some things that I leave out, because, hey, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of I can say. All right. So first of all, one of the things that I thought was interesting just in studying this was the way that Japanese culture, for instance, utilizes intuition. They have a practice called harage, and this literally means the art of the stomach, which focuses specifically on that gut instinct, nonverbal communication. It's really the ability to communicate thoughts and feelings without using explicit words, and then just relying on that deep intuitive understanding. I find this to be so interesting, especially now that I'm kind of going through a process or an evolution of thought in terms of where I want to be or where I want to live in this next chapter, there's a lot of things that I can't explain verbally about how I feel about what's going on. I wish I could. There are no words, I don't think, that exist to describe it fully and completely. But that takes me to, how does this connect to Kemet? Well, it's the same thing that ancient Africans used to believe. There are not words for everything. Okay. Sometimes you have to utilize symbols. Sometimes you have to go through a process of rituals. Sometimes you have to create pictures. There are all kinds of ways to convey thought, deep spiritual truth, principles. But intuition is just, again, that ability, I feel like, to energetically connect and be able to get that message out there without having to say a word. So I found that to be interesting and kind of a direct parallel to Harage, if you will. And you know what? I really hope I don't mispronounce things, but I'm telling y'all right now, I might. Don't take it personal. Let me know if I did it. All right. So moving on from the concepts of Japan to China and their concepts of Wu Wei. Now, in Taoism, Wu Wei was the principle of non-action or effortless action. It's not necessarily that people are being inactive, but they're acting in harmony with the flow of life. Um, it typically, I think, in order for us to be in a space where we're in the flow, right, as we hear that terminology, you really have to be intuitive. You really have to be in a space of trust because, of course, we know in our society, everything needs to be pre-planned out. You need to have an exact place where you're going to be at whatever time, or people are going to act like you're aimless and not trying to do anything at all, right? But if you can align your actions with the Tao way of life or the way of the universe, then you can achieve these goals with minimal effort and great efficiency. Okay, that's the concept of Wu Wei and being in the flow. Now, again, I've heard people say this for many, many years, and before I really would embrace that space of being intuitive and allowing things to flow, that wasn't going to work. Effortless action. That's like jumbo shrimp. Like those things don't go together. Effortless action, right? But you really have to get the space of being intuitive in order to practice that. Now, Goddess Linda already brought up Ma'at, right? And that Kemetic belief. Again, Ma'at represents truth, balance, order, harmony, law, morality, and justice. So it was not only about the cosmic order, but just a way of life that would guide individuals to live in harmony. It was just our way of being. So again, it's much like that concept of Tao and Wu Wei, just getting to align yourself with the natural flow of the cosmos. Okay. And Cometians understood that all too well, understanding that doing that is going to restore balance and harmony. Okay. All right. All right. How are we doing, ladies? How are you?
Wonderful. Hey, I'm learning some things.
Yeah.
This is good.
That's for sure.
I like a little learning. I like a little learning here.
Yeah.
Now, if we head on over to India, right, we've got Hinduism there and the view of the third eye. Now, the third eye chakra, we know as Ajna in Sanskrit. It's the sixth primary chakra, according to Hindu tradition, located in the forehead between the eyebrows. It's said to be the center of intuition and foresight. And then the concept of the third eye involves seeing beyond the physical to the true essence of things. It's associated with higher intuition, inner knowledge, and insight into higher consciousness and spiritual realms. Now, we know if we take it on back to Kemet, right, that inner vision and that insight aligns directly with the third eye and the eye of Horus, right?
Yeah.
So the concept of the third eye in Hinduism, representing that intuition and spiritual insight, is directly related, and I feel like most likely drawn from the eye of Horus or the eye of Wajed. The eye of Horus is a symbol of protection, royal power, good health, but also represents inner sight or the ability to see beyond the physical realm into the spiritual, much like what the third eye's role is in perceiving the visible world. I remember being really little and my uncle talking to me about my third eye. He's like, it's what you see when you close your eyes. I'm like, it's just darkness. He was like, no, you're not looking. You're not like, I feel like I am, and all I see is my eyelids that are closed. But yes, I understand it now because obviously we've been, having all these experiences and doing all this study, but it's amazing at night, sometimes when I'm asleep, just like last night, I'm looking around to see what I can see, when my eyes are closed. And it's like just amazing what kind of images and insight, all kinds of things you get just laying there concentrating on that. So they knew what was going on. Now let me take it to another place. Let's go into the world of Buddhism a little bit, and prajna, which also means wisdom. The word prajna is translated as wisdom, but it's a particular kind of wisdom that is intuitive, direct, and a deep understanding of the true nature of reality. Ooh, it's like the Matrix.
Yeah.
Like the Matrix out here. It goes beyond intellectual understanding to a direct experiential knowledge achieved through meditation and mindfulness practices, much like we spoke about last episode. Now, prajna is considered essential for achieving enlightenment. In order to realize the interconnectedness of all things, you have to be able to get to this space or be in this practice. You have to be able to understand the impermanence of the material world. And that, again, is matrix all day long. Like everything is an illusion, right? And a lot of times that's hard to process or even think about. But when you just really sit and process it, it's like, yeah. Now, when we take it on back to Kemet, okay, then we get into the world of wisdom and enlightenment, and we start thinking about Tahuti again, right? In Buddhism, prajna is all about that wisdom that goes beyond the ordinary understanding, right? It's beyond what's obvious. It's beyond what's said. In Kemet, Tahuti or Thoth, that was the god of wisdom, knowledge, and writing. Tahuti was believed to offer that wisdom that underlies the creation and maintenance of the universe, similar to how prajna is seen as crucial for enlightenment. Tahuti was crucial for having that deeper intuitive understanding and connection to the cosmic truth. So in Kemet, wisdom was much more about just the obvious knowledge. It's about those things that are definitely unseen. It makes me think about something else I heard when I was doing some study in astrology about a river and how there's all this active bacteria and things that are taking place below the soil that allow the river to flourish and do the things that it needs to do. If that bacteria was not creating the right environment, that river would not be able to sustain life and do the things that it is doing for that fish, that plant life, all of those different things. It's always about what's in the unseen realm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So bringing it all together, right? It's all about the interconnectedness. One thing that, all of these Eastern views have is that we're all one entity. It's just the common thread of understanding that spirituality is not an option, right? It's just what is. It's a very monotheistic view that there is one God manifesting through various entities. Doesn't matter what it is a holistic view of the universe where the divine is present in all aspects of life. And you see so much of that the more that you get into the study of ancient cultures and seeing how Africa has spanned out and touched the planet. So what are your thoughts, goddesses? What are your thoughts about this? It's a lot of information, but it was good stuff.
It is. And speaking of that, when you said a lot of information, so a couple of words that kind of, popped out to me, information and wisdom. So, information. Okay, there's information that informs and there's information that transforms. That then takes me over to wisdom. And I'm thinking, okay, so what is the definition of wisdom? So I went ahead and just pulled that up. And so it's the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment. And then also it says the soundness of an action or decision with regard to the application of experience, knowledge, and good judgment. And so as I said earlier in an opening that, it's also our intuition and getting guidance from our ancestors, knowing that some people will give you information and some people will give you wisdom. So understand that there is a difference, I've heard the phrase, we've heard it all the time, generational curses. And for me, that's just wrong information being passed down because someone was afraid, and now they're just trying to give you that information because they think that they're protecting you, but they're not. So even from their gut and intuition that's trying to tell them something, I can just think of what April said about the feeling that she gets. Sometimes we get this feeling, and because the feeling doesn't feel good, we think that, oh, this is bad, I should avoid it. It's like, no, it doesn't feel good because it's not what you are used to. And so knowing all of this information that you are sharing with us about the philosophy and tying it back to ancient Kemet, I was like, yeah, go ahead, bring it home, all the other areas that, yeah, bring this back home. It just further solidifies within myself in learning how to trust my gut, my intuition, because there's a lot of information out there, as you said, that our brain is taking in this exorbitant number of information. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing all that with us. So
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Goddess Linda. I love your take on it as well, because you are right. Some people will give you information and some people will give you wisdom. And it's almost like when you get wisdom from people, you perk up a little bit. I know for me at least, because I am love wisdom. Oh my gosh. I already know I have like a problem, an addiction for me, wisdom. But it's like you perk up and you know when you hear something that's almost getting ready to change your direction, or you've heard something in a way that unlocks a level of consciousness that you may have had locked away that you didn't even know existed. It's amazing. What
Yeah.
that wisdom and that discernment and that, like I said, that
Mhm.
intuitive component that lets you know, no, this is right. This is the one you want to listen to right here. So yeah. All right.
Yeah, I
Got
think for me, one of the things that I like and what I like about looking at some of the, the ancient cultures and not just picking one, but looking at all of them is, just on this whole journey, what I find out when I look at all the different cultures is I find out that we are so much more alike than we are different.
Mhm.
And a lot of times when people try to talk about different cultures, going to different places, different people, they always try to focus on what they feel like is the difference. I mean, one little thing that's different, that's the focus. And what I see, especially as I go through this spiritual journey and as we're talking about intuition, even though they all might have called it something different, they all were talking about the same exact thing. It's almost like that thing where you have a destination to get to, and maybe I might approach it from the west, you might approach it from the east, you might approach it from the north, the south, whatever, but we still get to that same place. You get me? So, I mean, what it tells me, and when you're talking about that, is that although they might have called it different things, they might have used different techniques, they still were saying this was something that they tuned into, understanding that you have this sixth sense that you can tone is an important thing. And it's something that you need to master. And as you talk about the Egyptians, I know most of the time with them, they had what they call these Egyptian learning schools, and only the brightest and the best got to partake of these things that we're talking about, the intuition, because these are things that they were saying that's higher level. And if you didn't show a degree of being able to be, really focused or very intelligent or very smart, it wasn't even wasted on you. They didn't even try to talk to you about these things because they like, this is way above your grade level, right? And you ain't gonna never get there. But here we are today in the midst of having all of this information and being able to have access to it. And of course, sometimes we think it's information overload, but I just think it's marvelous that we have access to these things that people, before nobody wouldn't even told them about. They'd be like, what are you talking about? I mean, I have no idea. I just think it's great that we can sit, hear the goddesses and with our audience and talk about intuition, right? And how that is such a valuable proponent of something. It's almost like there's another tool, and really more than a tool, a sense, something else that we can use to help carve out the life that we want, right? So I just
Right.
think that whole part to me is what's so great about it.
I mean, and even Goddess Juanita saying that, and I don't know if I've said it before. If I have, forgive me in advance, but they were in school for years,
Mm.
in mystery school for years. Hence words alchemy,
Yep.
chemistry. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
y'all better know where these things came from.
Yep.
It wasn't a game. Okay.
Yep. It was real. That's for sure. It was real.
Yeah.
I think it
Kemet.
makes sense though, if you think about your own journey and how long it probably took you to even get to a place where you were able to be open to certain concepts and ideas, right? So, we essentially in our lifetime have been in school, right? Um, and preparing for these moments for the next level. Because, you know, I know that there are things that I've heard, I probably came in contact with, like my grandfather gave me books when I was like a young, adult, maybe even a teenager. But it was like, oh, it's interesting. But it was just like I just couldn't get into it. You know what I mean? I just couldn't grasp it. It has such a different meaning to me now. I'm even able to, I don't even remember, I don't even know if I went back to those books.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but just knowing that being introduced to them at that time still played a role, right?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
me getting to where I am now, even though I could not fully process and take it in, it was what you say. What did you say, Akili? How did you say that? Shifting your consciousness up a notch. It is gradually getting you where it is that, that you need to go, or that your soul is trying to take you. But yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense that they would be in school for as long as they were, because even when you think that you've gotten to a certain point, there's still so much more to wrap your mind around. I have been at levels when I'm just like, ooh, like the feeling that I'm getting, and even like the difference between information and wisdom, right? And wisdom has a feeling to it. Like when you said that shift in consciousness, that knowing it is you're different now, in a way that you may not even understand, but that happens at every level. And so, I can only imagine, like, even people who are considered gurus, like people have this idea that they're done. Like, no.
No.
Like they've made it. Like they know it all, and here we are at their feet, just taking it all in. And I mean, it's beautiful because we need these teachers and people who have mastered certain concepts to be able to pass on that information, or maybe because of their particular experience, be able to explain things in only the way that they can. But to think that like it's a done deal, they made it, it's over, they're good to go. I know that they would say, and some I have heard say, it's not over. The school continues, the learning continues, the elevation continues. There is no end to it. Even when you leave this body, right? You keep going. Yeah. But anyway, it's just really it's really cool to not only be able to connect it back to ancient Africa, but it's really great to see, like Juanita said, to see all of it showing up in all of these different places, and essentially reminding us, you know, that at the foundation of it all is this understanding. It's this knowledge, this essence, this energy, this beingness, this right that connects us all. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep the party going because Goddess Juanita is now getting ready to roll on in and talk about some of these impacts and challenges that Black women may face and the importance of intuition for us.
Yes.
Well, goddesses, as we all know, because we are Black women, right? That
Yeah.
there are a lot of things that we face on a daily basis. I mean, we have other people that try to define us, that tell us who we are supposed to be, how we're supposed to act, how we're supposed to do this, how we're supposed to do that. I mean, every time you look up, it's somebody trying to tell you what a Black woman is, what a Black woman done. I mean, you just like, who are these people, right? And then you're just trying to navigate this world on a daily basis for us in general. uh and in this period in time is very challenging, and we can imagine what our ancestors went through, right? Being Black women and the things they had to encounter through, the slave trade, all those things. I mean, back then intuition for them was a way of life, because they had to know this is life and death for them. They had to be able to sense things at all times. I can remember my great grandmother, and my grandmother. They had so many sayings about so many things. I mean, your hand itching, your nose. There was a sign for everything. I mean, they had so many signs of something that was gonna happen. If this man, I'm gonna have some money. Oh my no, oh, that means so and so, girl. They talking about me. I mean, they had so many things, and I'd be going like, what? What are they talking about? How are they picking up on all this stuff? And sometimes they could just pick up on things, and you'd be like, well, how did they know that? Or how did they get that? I mean, they seem to me to be so in tune. It's like that these women could come together and you ain't have to say no words. They already knew what your issue was. They already knew what your problem is. They would come to you and they would say, baby, come here. I got you. You didn't have to say a word. They
Mm.
already knew. They were just that tuned in, not only to everything going around it, but especially to their family. And today, I think we've lost a lot of that. I think we've lost a lot of that because as Black women, number one, we got these television devices that people always feel like they got to be tuned into. For some reason, I think too, as Black women, for some reason over the last, I would say 10 to 20 years, somehow the value of the Black family has totally eroded. It's like we used to really believe when I grew up, I mean, family was everything. We hung out with our families. We had Sunday dinners. I mean, aunt, uncles, cousins. We did those things. We wanted to be together. We were proud to be a part of the family. Now it seems like families feel like their family members are inconvenienced. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a whole different world. Now we're more happy to be with our phones and our televisions and our streamings and our computers than we are to be with people. I mean, how many times I've looked somewhere because I forbid my family. We go out to eat. I like put the phones up, none of that. I mean, I have seen people be at a table eating and everybody's on their phone. They're out to eat. I mean, we're so connected to these devices that we don't see anything else. So it's so you wonder, you can see how we're not in tune with ourselves because we don't give ourselves enough time to even listen to ourselves. And that's very important to Black women, that we need to have time, as we talked over the last couple episodes about the meditations, about doing your visualizations, about doing all these things. You have to be able to have time to do those, for time for reflection. That is very, very important because there are times in your life for safety reasons that you need to be in tune. I remember talking to my mom on the phone just this week, and I'm leaving work early now, getting there, it's dark. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, I have to get off the phone talking to you right now because I'm about to get out of my car and I have to go into the office and it's dark in the parking garage and I need to have all my senses about me. I can't be talking on no phone. I need to be able to hear everything that's going on around me, in me, everything. I said, so I will talk to you later. But that's the things that we need to be able to do to check in. It's very important for Black women because of the fact that we live in places where people are, you never know when you're going to watch in a situation that you don't have any clue that's going on, but you got to be able to be in yourself at that moment, in that divine self. You have to know when it's time for you to step out and when it's time for you to bring, I've been in situations where things are getting heated. And something in me will say, Juanita, you got to find a way to bring this down. I mean, instinctively it say, you got to have a quiet voice in this. Yeah, I know you have an opinion, but this is not the place or the time to do that. But if you don't spend time with yourself, you don't do those reflections, you don't do the visualization, you don't meditate, you won't never hear that voice because that voice is like she said, it's a feeling, but you won't even listen to that. You'll think you're having a stomach ache or something because you're not in tune to your body, right? So it's very important for your safety, for your peace of mind. I know I've even did this with my gut, and I think it's probably to me, it's like the way you're talking about intuition and source or your divine spirit. I think they work hand in hand sometimes because I've had a situation where I wanted to answer to a question. And as soon as I said, okay, I'm gonna go talk to my boss to ask this question, or I'm gonna talk to the person to ask this question, something to me will say, okay, Juanita, you need to be able to figure out if they're telling you the truth or not. And I was like, okay, divine, I need you to help me to tell me, give me the signal to show me whether they're telling me the truth or not. And my spirit don't really tell me what it's gonna be, what it is. So I go and I ask the question, and then there it is. I see it just as clear today. I'm like, okay, they lying. I got it. You know what I'm saying? But it just be so clear. And when you do that, I mean, you ask the question, and that's the whole point, is understanding in your guidance. This is not just for the safety thing. This is if you want to answer to a question. You like, okay, I want to know this. Show me the sign or give me the sign. Show me. I'm telling you, when you ask your spirit, I literally asked my spirit the other day because I was saying, okay, I want to call my intuition. I said, Sheba was like I told you, was my aunt. And I want to call her because Black Panther's always waiting for me. And I want to call her Sheba. I want to call my intuition Sheba. And I said, should I call? I said, okay, I'm going to ask my divine, should I call my intuition Sheba? And basically my divine said, you can call her whatever you want. It don't matter. And I was like, okay, thank you. When I told you, if you go on your side and you just ask the question, it'd be so clear. You'd be like, It'd be so clear, you just like be going, they really answered me, okay? But that time is if you really are in check to your, in your intuition. And a couple of things I wanted to mention is just some of the things I think as Black women, you have to get enough rest, right? In order for you to really be within tune to yourself, you have to really be what I would say in good health and good mind. If you don't get enough rest, if you don't eat properly, you don't drink enough water, you don't take care of this physical body, you will never get in tune with your inner body because you'll always be focused on trying to take care of your physical body, right? If you got a headache, you're not gonna get you're not gonna be able to sit and focus and get your intuition. So those things, you need to take care of your physical self. I mean, you have to do those things. Maybe opening up your creativity. We've talked in some previous episodes about, people might need to journal. You might like to dance, you might like to paint, some of those things just to kind of sharpen up your intuition, that creativity, kind of trying to have that space, having that time where you're doing something you enjoy, taking yourself out of the mundane task and just doing something for fun. Sometimes that opens up your creativity. So trying to find those things to get you to check in with your intuition. And sometimes if you've never noticed it, which I can't believe probably for women, I think most of us have had that kind of thing where we say, something told me, my gut told me, if it ain't to date that guy or whatever, but I got that feeling. So most of us have had that feeling. We might not call it intuition, but we've had that thing that says, don't go there. That's not the right person. It's something. And sometimes we've ignored it. And then we come back and say, man, I know my gut told me I should have went with and we used to say, I should have went with my first mind. Cause that's usually what I always say. Cause it's like something comes up and your first mind says this and you're like, and now I'm doing, and then you're like, dang, I should have my first mind. How many times should I do that? Right. So we know this, we got this sense. We just got to learn how to hone it and how to sharpen it and how to use it more to help guide us on this journey called life, right? And help us to make better decisions. Because sometimes you, with your eyes, what you see, what you can feel and touch, all with your senses, you got one perception, but sometimes that's not the answer. Sometimes deep in your subconscious, you've had some other experiences that tap you into, and that's what your intuition is going to tell you. It's going to tell you when, you didn't been here before. It might look different, but it's the same thing. So we're not going to do it again. We've done this, right? That's what your intuition does. So for Black women, it's very important for us to be in touch with our intuition, because that is really our guidance system. I mean, to me, it's better than your eyes, it's better than your ears, it's better than all of that. Because as we know, a lot of times people might show us stuff, they might tell us stuff that's not true. But your intuition is going to tell you that your eyes are seeing one thing, but the truth is not what you're seeing. That is power, serious power.